StraighTAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is the ICE method for creating wealth. Now, explain, of course, what that means, where it comes from, and how you actually implement this momentarily. But first of all, let me tell you, I have a daily motivation text that I send out free of charge every single morning to everyone who's in my text community. This message is guaranteed to keep you focused, sharp, and on point. So if you want to receive this message, all you got to do is text me at my number, which is 305-384-6894. And every day when that message goes out, you, as a member of my text community, and only because of that, you will be receiving that message. You can even respond to those messages and engage with me directly. Secondly, my next live event, Work on Your Game Live, is happening February 3rd and 4th in Miami. Go to workonyourgame.live, get your ticket to that event. 2 full days, mindset, strategy, systems, execution. If the page is still up, you can still get a ticket. If the page is down, then it's a wrap. But get your ticket by going to workonyourgame.live. And third, workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's where you get access to all of my courses, a lifetime access to all of my courses. And every month, I'm going to send you 2 physical mailings to your doorstep, my masterclass black book and my bulletproof bulletin. You'll be getting those as a member of the university. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com for access. All that said, let's get to today's topic, which is the ICE method for wealth. When we talk about creating wealth, all right, this is the formula that can change your life. Now, in episode number 1477, I explained how to create wealth. And the simple thing that people need to understand is what wealth actually is. And this is the biggest challenge. A lot of people don't even know what these terms mean, but they throw them around. Wealth is what people want. When you have something that people want, you have wealth. Wealth is not money necessarily, because there are things that people want that are not money. Like, can any of you think of something that you want right now in life that is not money? Exactly. So that's wealth, because when you have something that people want and you're able to get it to them, let them know that you have it, get it to them, and they're willing to give you what you want for it, usually they're giving you money. All right. So wealth is on a higher plane than money. But since many people don't understand what wealth is, and many people don't understand the definition of words like rich, for example, this is the exact reason why many people never are able to achieve these things, because they don't even know what the words mean. So we got to get clear on our definitions here. And this is the reason why I told you that the dictionary matters the way that it does in episode 2385. Because if you can't define something, then it's hard for you to actually get it. When you create a clear definition of what something is, and then you tell yourself that you want it, now the servo mechanism in your brain, which is like the radar in your subconscious mind, will now start to go to work on that thing when you're clear on exactly what it means. But if you're unclear on what something means, and then you tell yourself that you want it, well, then how are you actually going to achieve it? Because your brain is confused. Well, what exactly does that mean, that thing that you said you want? So that's why I always like to define terms and make sure that you understand where I'm coming from and what we're talking about when we talk about certain things, so that you're not confusing yourself in your pursuit of things that you can't quite define on your own. But now that it's defined, let's get into it. Topic, once again, is the ICE method for wealth creation. Point number 1, ICE is a acronym, by the way, ICE. So the first letter is identify. First thing you had to do to create wealth in life is identify, because wealth means what people want. First thing you had to do is identify what people want. All right. And the only way to have wealth is to have something that people want. So the first thing you got to do is know what people want. And most people want more than one thing. Think about yourself. Is there more than one thing right now that you want in life? Probably is. Probably several things you want. If you had thought about it for a long time, you probably come up with a whole list. So when you know what people want, now you have the opportunity to offer it to them, and in turn get for yourself the things that you want. But first of all, you got to figure out what other people want, because the way the law of reciprocity works is that when you give other people what they want, they will give you everything that you want. So the first thing is, let's figure out what other people want Once you let them know that you have it, then they'll be willing to hopefully make an exchange with you. And we'll get to that in a second. So since wealth means what people want, this is the first thing you got to figure out. First step in this process is identification. Identifying what people want that you either want to or have the capability of supplying to them. Because see, just because somebody wants it doesn't mean you can fulfill the need. So I know one thing that everybody wants, everybody who's listening to this, at some point today, you're going to eat food. You're going to eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, and maybe some snacks in between. Everybody listening to this is going to do that at some point today, or maybe you won't do it, but you'll want to. Whether you do it or not is a different question, but you'll want something to eat, right? So a need is food. Wealth, if you have access to food that can feed other people, you have wealth because that's something that people want. Now, the challenge is, let's say for myself, I'll use me as an example here. This is not really, when it comes to the identification step, I would pass on the food as an identification for me simply because I am unwilling to be the supplier of food. I'm not going into a kitchen and cooking up meals for people, but I know people who do. I know people who love to do that. That's the main thing they want to identify is who needs this type of food or who wants this kind of food. I'll make it. And then maybe later on down the line, they can create an opportunity for themselves with it. But I wouldn't be interested in that. So just because you identify that somebody needs something does not mean you're going to be the one who supplies that thing. So you got to identify a need in an area in which you actually want to and are capable of supplying whatever it is that people want. So for example, back when I was in my basketball days, I identified, when I first put my first videos on YouTube, I identified that there were a bunch of basketball players up and coming who wanted to learn how to practice basketball from the basics on up. I identified that need and also identified that I was willing and capable of supplying what they wanted. And because of that, I covered this first point, which is identification. So this is the first thing on identification is you got to find a match between a desire in the marketplace and your ability to fulfill said desire. Okay, so what do people want that you either want to or have the capability of giving them? If you don't know, then you will be ineligible for creating wealth for yourself. In other words, you can't move on to points number 2 or 3 until you resolve point number 1. What is it that people want that you can supply? And the more detailed and specific you can get with this, the better. Because this is all about identifying your target market. That's what this first step is, identifying your target market. And your target market should not actually be very broad. So your target market, for example, if you're selling food, well, your target market technically could be everybody, because who doesn't eat food? Everybody eats food. But if you're that broad, then it'll be hard for you to take the next 2 steps, which we'll get to momentarily, because you won't know how to get your message across to the right types of people or what they're willing to give up in exchange to get what you want. So you want to get more specific. So if I'm selling something like, let's say I created a new candy. If I create a new candy, well, who doesn't like candy? Everybody probably likes candy, but I want to find people who are already buying candy. I want to find people who are candy enthusiasts. I want to find people who go to candy stores and spend $30 on candy. Those are the kind of people I want to sell to, because those are going to be my early adopters. They're going to be the ones who make it popular to everybody else. Does that make sense? If I'm selling something like coaching, which I do actually sell, I technically could help everybody. Like, everybody needs help with mindset, strategy, systems, and execution. Who doesn't need help with that? Everybody needs help with it, but not everybody's going to be willing to invest in that. So who am I going to look for? I'm looking for people who are already looking for it. I'm looking for people who are looking for me. Why? Because that's a more specific target market, and those people are much more open. They will be much more open to my message and much more likely to say yes to whatever offer that I make them, because they're already engaged in investing in things like coaching. So I'm looking for people who are already used to doing it, not trying to turn people who have never done it into people who have done it. Again, you don't want to be spending too much of your time in business trying to turn frogs into princes. All right, sometimes you just want to find princes and just make them more of a prince. It's easier to preach to the choir than it is to preach to the heathens. If everybody follows the analogy that I gave there. And if you want more on that, listen to episode number 1507. The topic is preach to the choir, dummy. Preaching to the choir is a good idea when you're in business, everybody. In other words, you want to sell your stuff to people who are already in the market for buying your stuff. If you sell luxury cars that cost $150,000 and up, don't go to the Don't stand out front of the Kia or the Toyota dealership and try to clip off the customers who are driving into that lot and say, hey, come to my lot instead and buy this luxury car. They're not in the market. Those are not your customers. I'm not saying none of them could afford it, but those are not your customers. Because if they wanted to buy a $150,000 vehicle, they won't be pulling into the Kia lot or the Toyota lot. They'd be looking for you. You want to go talk to the people who are looking for people like you. So maybe you want to go find people you want to go to places where people who would spend that kind of money on a car are spending that kind of money on other stuff. Because usually human beings are creatures of habit. So someone who's spending that kind of money on a car, they would spend exorbitantly relative to most other people on other things as well. So what else would they spend money on? People who buy cars, what else do they buy? Luxury cars, what else do they buy? You should come up with answers to that question so you can identify your target market, and that's where you need to go try to prospect and go find your customers. So this is that first step. Being eligible to create wealth is you got to identify a need and a specific type of person who has that need. Again, you don't want to talk to quote unquote everybody, even though everybody needs food, everybody wants some form of transportation, everybody needs to get their mind in the right space. Doesn't mean you're going to sell it to everybody, because not everybody is actively looking for or willing to buy whatever it is that you're selling. So when we want to talk about money in regards to wealth, all right, this is part of it. Is identification of people who actually will spend the money. Now, just because they have it doesn't mean they'll spend it. Again, two different things. So one challenge for many aspiring entrepreneurs is that they go out and create offerings, products, and services without ever considering if anybody actually wants them. All right, this is an important question. Who actually wants the thing that I'm selling? Or who would want the thing that I'm selling? If you're creating your products, offers, and services without first considering who would want it and who would want to buy it, then you may be doing extra work that you don't need to be doing. So what many professionals do is they go create something, don't know who the actual audience is, and then after they created it, they go try to find an audience for the thing that they created. This is an inaccurate formula because you're performing the operations backwards. What you should do instead is go out to the marketplace, find out what people want, then you go make something based on what people want. There's a story of a chiropractor who decided to open up a practice in a town where there were already several chiropractors already in business. And many of his chiropractors' friends, professional and personal, told him, well, hey, don't open your shop in that town, dummy. There's already a whole bunch of chiropractors in town. You're going to be competing with all of them. You'll never make any money. You're going to go out of business. You're going to lose your shirt in this process. So here's what the chiropractor did. He ignored that advice, and here's what he did. He went around that town for 6 to 12 months before he opened his practice. And what he did was knock on the doors of every house in that neighborhood, and those who would open the door or talk to him or let him in, he would basically survey and interview the people and ask them what exactly they wanted from a chiropractor. And after he did his market research by talking to everyone in the community about what they would want from him, he finally opened his practice using all the information that he had gotten from his market research, and he ended up being the #1 chiropractor in town. Why? Because he did the homework that his competitors had not done, and number two, he knew exactly what they wanted because they told him. So if you want to know what your audience wants before you create anything, this is what you need to do. You need to ask them. You need to metaphorically or literally or virtually knock on doors and find out what people actually want from you. Don't make something and try to find people to want it. Find people, see what they want. Everybody wants something, and then you make the thing based on what they said they want. All right, it'll be much better if you do it that way. So this inaccurate formula is done backwards if you're making something and trying to find buyers. Better way is to first find out what they want, then make it. This sunk cost fallacy of I already put time and effort into making this, so I'm going to keep trying to sell it. This is a real thing that affects many human beings because they have done the order of operations backwards. So they keep trying to force the market to want something that the market simply is not interested in. Why? Because you have created that thing instead of first finding out why the market will want it in the first place. This is the mistake that a lot of professionals make, is that they try to force the market to want something that the market simply doesn't want. Had you done your homework the right way and in the right order, you would never have to force anything on the market because you'd be giving them what they already told you that they wanted. So doing this step correctly requires accurate thinking. You need to be accurate in identifying what the market wants, not just deciding that the market is going to want something just because you made it. All right, that's usually not going to work unless you're Steve Jobs. There are very few people who can come up with just ideas and the market just wanting it just because it's you. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is the ICE method for wealth creation. So now you've identified what it is that people want. You know exactly what people want. Here's the next thing you had to do. Communicate. Communicate means you go to the market, and again, you're looking at the market, you already know you have a thing that they want, right? Now, if you've done your homework properly and you thought accurately, there will be people who are interested in the thing that you are communicating that you now have, if you've done your homework. This is the marketing process. Marketing is simply the relationship between you and an audience of people, and you letting them know what value you can provide to them. That's all marketing is that I have a relationship with you. I want to show you a little bit of what we do here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we have going on. That's what marketing is, the relationship that you have to an audience of people, letting them know what you can give them. So advertising, billboards, content creation, podcasts, YouTube videos, emails, texts, everything else are done for one reason: for the person who created or sent them to draw attention to themselves. And they want to fall under the umbrella of communication. This is you letting the market know that you're here and that you have something for them. Communication is the bridge between what you have identified, i.e. the people who have a need, and created, i.e. the once you come up with the idea, and this actually can be in between the idea and the communication phase. This is the creation phase. And then you actually start making money. Your communication is the gap between what you have and other people knowing about it. That's your communication skill. And that's why communication matters so much. You identified accurately but lack communication skills, you can still fail in business. You had the best product in the world, a clear target market, but if you didn't identify exactly what the need was, your product or service may fall short of people's expectations. You didn't clearly identify who the person was, then you may fall short in other areas. See, one thing you'll notice about all your favorite influencers, salespeople, marketers, and business owners is that they all are very strong in communication. Every single one of them. And that's not a coincidence that one of the fastest ways to move up, but one of the things that ensures your ability to move up in the corporate ladder, or even in something like network marketing, is your ability to communicate. You gotta be able to communicate clearly. You have to have a strong and clear communication style. If you and another person's communication skills don't match up, or don't measure up rather, your communication skills don't measure up, I would mark that as an urgent issue that needs to be addressed, your communication skills. Because communication skills determines how well you take what's in your head and get it across to other people, whether that's in written format, spoken format, video format, audio format, one-on-one conversation, at a job interview. If you're the boss at a job, all of that is based on your ability to communicate. So when you're short, your communication skills are lacking, it's going to cost you on some level. So the communication is a pivotal tool when it comes to just success in life. I've talked about communication in a lot of episodes of this show. I'll give you a few. Episode 1264, 3 communication skills you must master immediately. Episode 1257, invest in your communication skills. Episode number 568, the communication skills you must learn for life. That said, moving on to point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is the ICE method for creating wealth. Number 3 is exchange. So we have identifies first, communicated second, and the third thing is exchange. Exchange is where the actual business takes place. And everything I'm talking about here today, I go over in even more detail in my business builder course inside of Work On Your Game University, which again, you access at workonyourgameuniversity.com. So exchange, that's the point where the sale actually happens. The sale has happened when the exchange happens. The exchange is literally You giving your prospects something and them giving you something. Usually what they give you is money if you're on the sales side of things. And whatever you are giving them is whatever is offered, such as your coaching, your course, your book, a sandwich, whatever it is that you're selling. All right, that's the exchange point. You have not completed a sale until an exchange takes place. There's an important caveat, so I want to make sure everybody gets it. Until an exchange takes place, there was no sale. So somebody agrees to give you money, but they haven't given you the money yet, the exchange is not done. You're not done until the exchange happens. Your ability to create and consummate the exchange is usually known as closing. That's what it is. Your ability to close the conversation. You have to be able to close the deal. Challenges for many professionals when it comes to closing is your poor and unhealthy mindsets around money, which cause you to hesitate and not go for the kill when it's time to make the exchange. You have a poor money mindset. You may be looking at the person across from you and saying, oh, well, this poor person, they only have this much money and I'm going to charge them this much, which is half of what they have, or 80% of what they have, or 110% of what they have. Maybe I shouldn't charge them so much. Maybe I should give them a discount. Maybe I should not be doing the things that I'm doing here in my business. These poor money mindsets will cost you money. They're already costing you money. In episode 2214, I addressed both of these. That was 2214, and I also believe 2215. Let me see, make sure. Actually, I don't think they were back to back, but let me make sure. That was episode 2231 was healthy money mindsets. Episode 2214 was poor money mindsets. So 2214, 2231. Now understand that getting yourself into this exchange and making the exchange happen, this is 100% a mind challenge. And since there's plenty of money to go around and plenty of people willing to spend it, it's definitely not a money challenge. All right, the exchange is not a money challenge. All right, there are plenty of people out there with money. So if you've been trying to make exchanges with people who keep telling you they don't have money, either A, they're lying to you, or B, maybe they don't have money and you need to hang around people who do have it. There are many alleged salespeople who simply have hang-ups about their personal value and what them and their offerings are actually worth, which cause people to lose deals at a critical exchange point. See, if you are in any way having a hang up about, because of your poor money mindset, about money, that is going to cause you to be far away from the money that you want to make. And it'll cause you to lose deals at this critical exchange point. And this is why I made the Bulletproof Mindset 2.0 course, so that you are no longer allowing a poor mindset around what you can achieve, or what you should achieve, what you expect yourself to achieve. You're no longer allowing those to slow you down from getting to where you want to get to. This is that exchange point, and that's all about the concept of selling yourself. I have a course on that and Work on Your Game University, Bulletproof Mindset in there, the Business Builder course, all of these also in the Next Mission course. They all have trainings and modules on the mindset that you're going to need around executing and getting things done in life, because there are many people out here who will try to guilt and shame you for achieving at a high level simply because they have never achieved at a high level. So instead of just saying, hey, what can I do to make myself better? That's what they should be asking you. Instead, they come up with a reason to pull you down. So now, and the more people who are down, the happier these folks are. So you got to be careful with them. But all that said, let's recap today's class, which is the ICE method for creating wealth. This is a formula that can change your life. And what I found is that wealth is simply what people want. When you have something that people want, you have wealth. Then you have to be able to let people know that you have it. Then you had to get them to give you something in order to get the thing that they want. It's 3 steps. That's how you create wealth. Point number 1, identify. Wealth means what people want. So the first thing you gotta do is identify what people want. When you know it, then you have an opportunity to offer it to them, and in turn, hey, maybe you'll even get it for yourself. So one challenge that many aspiring entrepreneurs have is that they go and create offerings, products, and services without considering if anyone actually wants the things that they've created. Make sure you know the market wants it first, then go create it. All right, don't do it backwards, creating something and then hoping that you find an audience of people who are interested in it. That's hustling backwards, and you may end up having put a lot of time into something that is not the right thing. Number two, communicate. This is where you let the market know that you have something that they want. If you've done your homework properly and you are thinking accurately, there will be people who are interested in what you're doing. All right, this is marketing. Marketing is just a relationship you have with an audience of people, and they are allowing you to let them know that you have value that you can give to them. And when you can communicate your value in the marketing process, you are able to consummate what we call a sale. That's the exchange point. So in marketing, you're letting people know that you're there, and you let them know that you have something for them. Communication is the bridge between what you identified and created and actually making money with that thing. And one thing you'll notice about all your favorite influencers, salespeople, marketers, and business owners is that they are all really, really strong communicators. So do your communication skills measure up? If not, that is an urgent issue to fix. And number three, the exchange. This is the point where the sale actually happens. As your prospect gives you something, you give them something. And when that exchange occurs, that's when the sale is done. If you have not made the exchange yet, then the sale's not over, or you're still in the process. So your ability to communicate, to consummate rather, the exchange is usually known as closing, and you got to be able to close the deal. So if you're not closing the deal, it may be because of your mindset around money, your mindset around creating success, your mindset around somebody's spending money, and maybe you have this mentality that every time somebody spends money, that means there's less money that they'll ever have, and now they'll never have that money again, and you have a hang up about that, and that's causing you to not close. All right, any of you who have hang-ups about this kind of stuff, you got to fix it. That's why I have Bulletproof Mindset inside of workonyourgameuniversity.com, so you don't have this problem anymore. Or you can work with me directly in my coaching program, but you got to get over any hang-ups you have about closing the deal, because it will cost you in the long run. All that said, text me to get my daily motivation. My number is 305-384-6894. Get tickets to my next event, Work on Your Game Live, at workonyourgame.live. As long as the page is up, you can still get a ticket. And workonyourgameuniversity.com. Get my 2 physical mailings every single month and access to all my exclusive trainings and all my courses. Again, workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all day.